What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is taking us to another destination in the SEC. It's Columbia, Missouri. And let's talk about the namesake of the state. The Missouri Tigers are up next, looking to battle from a lot of talent losses to still be one of the better teams in the SEC. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank you all so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. If you'd like to support the channel even further, be my guest, do what it says right below me, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell. Turning on notifications will ensure that you don't miss an upload, especially during prediction season, and I know y'all don't want to miss your favorite team. I am a sports media professional, I should say I'm a sports media grad, soon to be sports media professional, delving into the professional world of that industry. And if you want to see all the cool stuff I get to do, as well as keep up to date with what's going on this YouTube channel, you can give me a follow at TailgateNate29 on Twitter or X, whatever your preference to call the platform, and Instagram. You can also even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. Who am I kidding? I am a sports media professional. I have a degree that says so. Thank you so much for supporting and interacting with me and the channel, however you may be doing so. With all that said and done and out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let us talk about the Missouri Tigers and their head coach, Eli Drinkwitz. A lot of talent is going to be leaving this Missouri team, especially offensively. The returning production number does not look great. However, with a lot of good returning pieces defensively and one of the best portal classes in the country, Missouri still looks like a pretty solid unit this year. How are they going to fare in an SEC that overall should even get better around them and a schedule that'll be tough to navigate? Well, you'll see that schedule here in a minute, but what we'll do first is we go through a roster overview in which the offense is over here to the left and the defense is over here to the right. At the end of the video, we'll go through the Missouri Tiger football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. In this video, overall, we'll tell you what I think about the Missouri Tigers in 2025. Before we dive on into all the jargon around me, previewing the roster, both offensively and defensively, pointed the wrong way. Let's look at some numbers down below me. Returning production shows exactly that, production returning to this team. Numbers are courtesy of ESPN, and they do factor in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage. And then right down below those are the recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025. Again, the 20th and 7th. According to 24/7 Sports. The portal class, again, of course, 7th with 136 teams, and they do factor in FCS teams, does 24/7 as well. Guys, it's one of the top portal classes in the entire country, but we will start by talking about one of those portal pieces when we venture on to talking about the offense in Kirby Moore. Brady Cook is graduating. Did not have a Brady Cook type season last year. 2,535 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Had a much better season in 2023, but dealt with some injuries and things last year. Hey, the 2 interceptions, that looks phenomenal. But overall, again, Brady Cook, when you take a look at his Missouri career, really, really successful one. And I do think Missouri will miss a lot of the experience and just raw intangibles that Brady Cook can bring. Sam Horn is going to be coming back to this team, so we'll really see if Sam Horn can develop and be that starting quarterback. I don't think it's going to be Sam Horn, though. I think it's going to be a guy who transfers over from Penn State by the name of Bo Pribula. A lot of buzz around Columbia about this kid. They really, really like him, and they think they can win with him. I think they can win with them, too. I think he's a really solid quarterback, and he still have some development to take place? Yeah, but in his very limited playing time, playing behind Drew Aller at Penn State, he made the most of his passing roles, and he is a dynamic rusher out of the backfield. In fact, that's what Penn State did for him most. They utilized him in sort of wildcat packages where you both had Aller and Pribula in there. Pribula's a guy that can definitely run. He's got some wheels. So I really do like Bo Pribula. Still some questions to answer for me. I really want to see him fully unleashed as a passer and exactly what he can do. And he is going to be losing a lot of talent in this Missouri wide receiver room, but we'll get there in a little bit. Let's talk about the running back room first. Marcus Carroll and your leading rusher, Nate Noel, are both going to be gone. Nate Noel at 818 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Marcus Carroll 595 yards, but 4 times as many touchdowns with 12. So 2 really, really good running backs, again, that were sensational at their Sun Belt programs and were really good here with Missouri as well. However, last season, true freshman phenom Ahmad Hardy emerged onto the scene at ULM, and the Warhawk running back is now a member of the Missouri Tigers. 1,351 yards and 13 touchdowns on 237 carries. That's 5.7 yards per carry. And yeah, ULM, not that good of a football program. Was Ahmad Hardy a big bright spot? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And now Missouri's getting themselves another really good back from the Sun Belt in the group of 5 ranks to come be that lead guy for the Tigers this season. 3 of their top 4 wideouts are gone. And I'm not talking about pass catchers, I'm talking about purely wide receivers. You're going to be losing Theo Weiss, who led the team last season with 884 yards and 4 touchdowns. Probably their most talented wide receiver in that room, Luther Burden. He's gone. 61 catches led the team, 676 yards and 6 touchdowns. You also are losing Mookie Cooper, a former a guy that came over from Ohio State way back in the day that did provide some pretty good production during his time in Columbia. Marquise Johnson is the lone returner among the top 4. 352 yards and a touchdown for Johnson last season. Joshua Manning is also coming back, just shy of 200 yards of production for him last year. They both are going to get promoted, play some really big roles for this team this year. And then Kevin Coleman is going to be entering this program. Kevin Coleman last season was with Mississippi State, nearly had a 1,000-yard season with 6 touchdowns, around 12.6 yards per catch. He's a really, really good wideout. Wouldn't surprise me if he led the team in receiving once the season is said and done. You also do have a freshman in Donovan Olugbode. I probably mispronounced that last name entirely, so I do tremendously apologize for that. But the freshman Donovan is going to be coming in, and I think will play another pretty big vital role as a really good depth piece for this wide receiver room. And then the tight end room, hey, it remains intact from last season. Brett Norfleet will still lead the tight end room with Jordan Harris, and they even do have a transfer in Vince Brown coming in that'll just add some nice depth. He was a pretty solid piece at Colorado State last year, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. You could see him get some good playing time, but it still will be Brett Norfleet that does lead this room. When you're talking about this offensive line from Missouri, Armand Membu is going to be gone. And I mean, just what a substantial loss on the offensive front. One of the most talented offensive linemen in the country from last season is now off to the New York Jets, I believe with Brady Cook. I think that's where Brady Cook ended up as well. There's lots of competition amongst the positions on the offensive line. Now, you do have a couple of mainstays that are going to be coming back here. Connor Tollison should be your center. Caden Green's a great returner. He should be your left guard. You do get a couple transfers to anchor the outside part. Johnny Williams, Keegan Trost. And then, again, there is some pretty solid depth. And as far as experience goes, it's going to shine this season at Missouri. You could have one sophomore, one underclassman starting on the defense, or I should say on the offensive front for Missouri this season. But overall, I think it's an offensive front that's going to be pretty solid this year, even with the big loss to Membu. It's because it still has a lot of really solid pieces. And as long as Pribula develops and is the quarterback that a lot of Missouri fans think he can be, especially with his passing, then I think Missouri is going to have a pretty darn good offense this upcoming season, as I think they filled in the gaps pretty nicely. Now, defensively, let's talk about Corey Batoon's platoon in the defensive side. Lots of players in new roles, especially with some of, your bigger names going to be leaving the defensive side. A lot of your top producers in each unit from last season, and then transfers are expecting to fill in. But to me, yes, Ahmad Hardy is great. Kevin Coleman is great. They brought in some really good offensive transfers. To me, the defensive transfers are what really, really elevates this portal class to another level. Let's start with the front 7. Your sack leader in Johnny Walker is gone. He was a vital piece to this Missouri defense last season. Off the edge, 9.5 sacks. They're going to need to find someone to try to up that production. He had 9.5 of the 28 that Missouri had last season. You're also losing your leading tackler in Corey Flagg from last season. Corey Flagg had 81 tackles and a sack for the unit last year. And again, there are going to be some other pieces that leave the defensive front 7, none bigger than those 2. Well, here you go. Many faces are going to return to this defensive front, including names that I will read off right now. Zion Young, Chris McClellan, Sterling Webb. There are going to be some names coming back. Even the depth looks pretty solid, but man, Damon Wilson is coming over from Georgia, and he might be one of the best defensive players in the country this upcoming season. 3 sacks in 22 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss with the Bulldogs last season. Oh, he could absolutely explode here with the Missouri Tiger defense. He's going to be such a disruptive force. You want someone to replace the sack production that Johnny Walker is going to leave with. Damon Wilson could be that guy. As far as the linebacking room goes, Tristan Newson is coming back, second leading tackler on the team last season. And you also get another high leverage transfer in Josiah Trotter, who had 92 tackles and 4 tackles for loss for the West Virginia Mountaineers last season. Really, really, really good players, the two of them coming in. To pair with some really good returners, I still think Missouri, yeah, you got to find a way to up that sack production. And I don't know if you're going to find much of it in Josiah Trotter, although I do think he has that potential. Damon Wilson is the guy I would look at and say, you need to be in the quarterback's face every single play. And I think he's going to. I think he's a stud. He's a really good player. And I think he's going to fit in really well with this Missouri Tiger defensive front. As far as the secondary goes, some solid contributors are going to be leaving the secondary. However, you do get some really big returners. Dalen Carnell will be coming back. Marvin Burks will be coming back. Drayden Norwood is going to be coming back. And some amazing transfers are adding in. Jalen Catalong has jumped around everywhere, but had a really good season last year with UNLV. 96 tackles, did have 5 interceptions, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He was everywhere. And if he can translate that part of his game, it just didn't really work out with Texas, and he was pretty solid at Arkansas, but, or I should say, didn't have that great a production at Texas. And Arkansas, he was pretty solid. Last year at UNLV, I definitely felt like was his best year. Let's see that transition during his time in Columbia. You also do get another transfer coming in Stephen Hall, who's over from Washington State. 50 tackles, had a pick 6 last season. Oh, it was a 100-yard pick 6, by the way. So again, this is a Missouri defense that sees a ton of talent return, ton of great portal pieces in. And let's give some love to the kickers, shall we? Blake Craig is back to kick, and a new punter in Connell Wesselman will be transferring in. When I look up and down this team, I just see a few things that I think Missouri really has their success hinge on this season. For one, when you talk about the quarterback position, it does hinge on Beau Pribula and how far he's come in his development, how much, or actually how effective he's going to be as a passer with this wide receiver room. That could have some questions, but I think overall will be fairly solid. And then how do you replace the overall leadership you lost on defense? The sack production of Johnny Walker. Can Damon Wilson really start to develop that? And can Missouri's defense, I think overall, it's got to see a step in the right direction this upcoming season. There are a lot of really good pieces on both sides of the ball, but navigating this schedule in the SEC won't be easy. Well, let's wait no longer, shall we? Because here is the Missouri Tiger football schedule for 2025. But before we dive on into this, I do want to talk about some numbers right down below me. These odds are brought to you by FanDuel, or I should say courtesy of FanDuel. No, I'm not telling you to go place your money on these. It just provides some context for how good the odds makers think Missouri is going to be this upcoming season. Well, you go ahead and you take a look at sort of what Missouri's looking at as far as odds to win the conference. It is pretty long odds, right? Missouri sits 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the bottom in the SEC. In fact, there's quite the gap between them and South Carolina, who sits right above Missouri at, I believe that would be 10th. Yes, that would be, oh no, maybe even 11th. Regardless, Missouri in the bottom half of the conference in order to win it, and then plus 13,000 odds to win the national championship. Over under win total set at 7.5, and they'll get an easy one right off the bat against Central Arkansas. Sorry, had to fix something there. But yes, even though it is a Thursday game, shorter preparation week. Look, man, Central Arkansas is not beating Missouri. Are you kidding me? Missouri's going to be able to win that one pretty easily. I also think that they beat Kansas. But I want to talk about Kansas for a second. I'll flash up the green because I already said that I think they would win. But I do think Kansas is a very interesting game to talk about here. A very disappointing season for Kansas standards, at least as of late last season. Again, you still were continuing with some problems with Jalen Daniels, but he is coming back this season. LaShawn Williams is a transfer coming over from Iowa that had a really good season in 2023 that I think can be a really good running back for him. Wide receiver room is completely overhauled here, and the defense is going to have a ton of pieces entering this room as well through the transfer portal. Kansas's problem, though, has been defensively. And while it's seen pretty solid improvements year over year, I just don't know if they're going to be able to slow down everything Missouri can throw at you, because Missouri's got, again, Hardy's a really good running back. I think their wide receiver room overall might not be as talented as it was last season, just based off of raw and just ceilings and things of that nature. I do think this is a Missouri wide receiver room that can still be really good and can give Kansas trouble, because where Kansas especially struggles defensively is defending outside, defending the edges. That's where they have struggled over the past couple of seasons. And while I think it gets better this year, I don't think it gets better enough. And there still is that question to me of to what Jalen Daniels are we going to see this season. I think Kansas can still be a pretty solid team. I think they'll get back to a bowl game this year, but I do think one of those losses is to the Missouri Tigers. So Missouri will win that game, and I do think they beat Louisiana here as well. The Raging Cajuns got some solid pieces. Could be one of the more fun teams out of the Fun Belt to watch. Yes, I meant to say Fun Belt. But this is a Louisiana team that will be no match for the Tigers at home. So Missouri starts out 3-0. And Missouri last year had a very favorable conference schedule. You take a look at it this year, it still could be considered as favorable, but I think a lot of the teams on it are going to get a lot better from last year. South Carolina going to be one of them. Now, I do not believe Missouri beat South Carolina last year. I know they played them last season. And they did not. They did not beat South Carolina as it was on the road. Well, South Carolina, I think, going to get a lot better this season, while Missouri's going to try to be filling in some of the talent. Look, Lenoris Sellers is one of the most explosive playmakers in the country. I feel that way. I think the running back room is going to be awesome. I think the wide receiver room, led by Nick Harbor, poised for a breakout season, as, again, Lenoris Sellers is going to outwork, I think, a lot of defenses. I think he's going to be too dynamic for some of these defenses to handle. I think he's a really, really good player. And when you look at the South Carolina defense, a ton of production returns, especially in that secondary. I think they're going to be able to slow down Bo Pribula through the air. I think they're going to be able to contain the run game fairly solid, as they have some absolute beasts up front. And I think South Carolina wins this game. I just think they're a little bit better than Missouri in most areas of the field. I don't see the Tigers getting revenge from the loss last season, as I think South Carolina is going to be pretty darn good, and they're a sleeper for the college football playoff. However, the Tigers will bounce back and beat the UMass Minutemen before their first bye week, and then they get a home game against Alabama, and I still don't think Missouri is winning this one either. I do believe Missouri played Alabama last year. They got shut out 34-0. I don't think they're going to get shut out again this season, but I do think Alabama is really, really talented. Ryan Williams comes back. He's one of the youngest, but yet most impressive players in the entire country. You take a look at the Bama quarterback situation, and I think Jalen Milroe is a really, really big loss, but Alabama's going to get a quarterback this season that more fits what Kalen DeBoer likes to do with an offense, and he likes a quarterback that can sit in the pocket and throw. Jalen Milroe is really the first dual threat quarterback that he's had throughout his coaching career. So that was a big change and a big transition for Kalen DeBoer. I do think Ty Simpson or Austin Mack, I think it's going to be Ty Simpson, is going to fit the profile of what Kalen DeBoer wants a little bit better. And I think it'll really help utilize a strength in this Alabama team. And it is their wide receiver room. I think it's really good. Offensive line is loaded. Defense got some dogs. I think Bama wins this one against the Auburn, or I should say against the Missouri Tigers. I was previewing this one against the Auburn Tigers because this is Missouri's first road game. And when I take a look at a team with the same nickname in Auburn, I do think that Auburn's got a lot of really, really good talent. However, I also think that, there's still the question to me on to how much does Jackson Arnold really get better. Auburn's got a lot of talent in every single level, but I think there's going to be a game or two this season where not everything is going to mesh together. Not everything is going to fit well. And especially when you look at Jackson Arnold, I think there's a game or two this season where Jackson Arnold just doesn't really have it. Is his development going to get better? And will Jackson Arnold be a better quarterback this season? Absolutely 1000%. I have no doubt about that at all. What I do have some doubts about is, especially when it comes to play a team like Missouri, that, look, Auburn may very well be more talented than, but again, this point in the season, I think this could be a game you could look at and say it's pretty easy to lose. And I think Auburn's going to give them a dogfight because it is Missouri's first true road game. This, to me, just quite simply is a letdown game for Auburn. Sort of that gut feeling thing that you have. Can't really explain it much better than that. At least to me. Hopefully it's making sense to all you out there. And Missouri's got the pieces to be able to keep up with it. Look, Auburn's going to have one of the better wide receiver rooms in the country this year. I think Missouri's got the secondary pieces to hang with them. I think Missouri's got the pieces on the line of scrimmage. Now with Wilson and Trotter transferring into this program, I think they're going to be able to hang with Auburn, and I do think they have the pieces necessary to be able to win this game. I wouldn't have picked them if I didn't believe so otherwise. So I think Missouri wins that one. but I do think they lose this one to Vandy. And I know, the Vandy joke is still going to run. It's still going to go strong. The reality of the situation is this, guys. Vandy made a bowl game last year, and they got one of the most fiery quarterbacks in the country coming back to this team. One of these two road games is going to get Missouri. I just so happen to think it's a letdown game for Auburn. And, there are going to be games this year where Diego Pavia puts Vandy and the Commodores on his back and says, all right, team, we are not losing this one. Very well could end up being one of these games, but Vandy's got a lot of good pieces surrounding the likes of Diego Pavia. I think the defense is going to see some significant improvement this season as well. And again, we were talking about letdown games for Auburn. This could very well be a letdown game for Missouri right here, but I also more so seeing it, the fact is Vandy's going to be scrappy. Vandy's going to fight for some wins this season, and you can no longer, in my opinion, count them out in the SEC. They're going to be a team that's going to fight, scratch, claw. They're going to play hard, and I do think they get a pretty sizable win this season, and Missouri is the team I do think they beat. After the bye week here, your second one of the season, I do think you lose this one to Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to be a really good side this year. I think they finally found their quarterback in Marcel Reed. At least Texas A&M Aggie fans would think so as well. Pretty good wide receiver, not Marcel Reed, I just said his name, Le'Veon Moss, returning at running back for this team. All of those defensive pieces coming in and coming back for the squad, and I think they got the perfect head coach to really start to elevate this program to the heights that they wanted to see but never really saw out of Jimbo Fisher, and that's getting to an SEC championship. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time, but I do really like the Aggies this season. I like a lot of their pieces, and I like the matchup against Missouri. I don't really think I like Mississippi State against many teams in the SEC this year. I think it's going to be another struggle bus year for Jeff Lebby and company. Mississippi State could be one of, if not the worst team in the SEC this season. I think that's going to be a pretty simple win for the Missouri Tigers. Then on the road at Oklahoma is a very, very, very interesting one. Missouri needed, I believe, quite the magic. Yeah, they did. They needed quite the magic to get past Oklahoma last season. And Oklahoma, I think, is going to see their improvements, especially in quarterback play. Jackson Arnold did not work out. I think he'll be solid enough at Auburn, but this is going to be a team led by John Mateer, a really good gunslinging quarterback, and his former offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle. I shouldn't say former. He's still his offensive coordinator, following him over from Washington State. And I think Oklahoma's got a lot of really solid pieces. Yeah, the wide receiver room got decimated. I still think it'll be really good. The defense took a massive step forward. I think it'll do so again this year. Oklahoma's going to be better. Watch out for them in the SEC. I got them winning that one. And then this one against Arkansas. Look, you've already clinched bowl eligibility. This one at this point is for bragging rights. Now, as far as the Arkansas Razorbacks go, I do believe that last season, this game was pretty darn close. It was. Missouri was still able to win 28-21 on the road here. It's going to be a little bit of a different story, and I think it's a close game. Taylon Green is coming back, and I still think he's a really good quarterback, but I'm just not sure about the pieces around him. The defense has got a lot of experience, but I just am unsure on how much of a step forward it's going to take. And I think Arkansas is a team that really struggles this season, and a big pressure year for Sam Pittman. That's supposed to be green. Fixed it so it was green, and there you go. I do think Missouri will be beating Arkansas yet again this season, and it leads you to a record of 7-5. Maybe not what Tiger fans want, but I think considering everything, look, you're going to have Bo Pribula for a while. You develop him this year. I think Missouri can get ready to explode next season as well, and Eli Drinkwitz has proven, well, he's a pretty solid coach, and he's going to be able to coach with a lot of these guys in the SEC. Schedule looks favorable. I think a lot of teams on it are going to be pretty solid, and Missouri goes 7-5 this season. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.